Alright, bear with me. I'm about to go through a bunch of knives and discuss the handles and what I find comfortable and uncomfortable about them. This is a Rapala fillet knife, whatever you want to call it. It's got a birchwood handle. Looks like it's been, waxed, treated. Fits your hand pretty basic. There is a little index groove here. I actually find this a little bit small for my hand. Now I have medium-sized hands. When I say that, it means that my hands fit into small and medium-sized gloves that you'll find at most of your, department stores. But more specifically, if you wear examination gloves, latex or nitrile, I fit the mediums. Small is too small, large is too large, medium fits just right. So there you go. This is a little bit small. But things that are nice about it. It's got the index groove to keep your index finger there in place while you're working. And it does flare out in the butt a bit, but mostly it flares out vertically, from spine to belly. So it's going to hold on to your hand that way. The fact that it flares out laterally like this from the sides really means no never mind to me, because when I'm using it, it's not likely that it's ever going to slide out of my hands in that direction. I'm not putting that much force on it. It's not like I'm swinging with this really hard. So it doesn't need much of a heel here, and it certainly doesn't need a heavy flare here. It would be totally fine if this were completely barrel handled all the way down and rounded. But it is nice that it has this, because chances are it's going to get slippery if I'm working with fish, and the fact that it is pretty smooth and polished means that it'll also be a little bit slick. Although, since I'll be bare-handed, I should have a decent grip on it, unless of course I'm wearing some kind of crappy gloves. Which I guess I'll show. Gloves. Alright, here we go. Standard ironclad or Ranchworks gloves. You can see now how my hand just barely fits on it, riding up onto the brass ferrule. So it's a little bit slick. I can twist it if I grab it like this. It's not hard for me to twist the blade so that it rotates. That shows that there's not a whole lot of retention provided by this surface material or provided by the surface of this glove. This is a Iisakki Järvenpää, I don't know if I pronounced that right, Aito, which is pretty much a standard traditional puko. It's getting pretty close to that, twice as tall as it is wide, which is good. But because it's round, it doesn't index that well. It is pretty easy to rotate in hand. Now that's, generally you wouldn't have to hold this too tight, and it's got leather, so it has a little bit of give to it. So you can hold on, but the tighter you have to hold on to that knife, the more tired it is, the less ergonomic it is, the less likely you are to continue to use it if you can't hold on to it tight enough to keep the edge going in the direction you want. It's poor indexing. This is a Bill Davis, W.C. Davis, Loveless-style drop point hunter, 4-inch drop point hunter. Let's see if we can get his signature in there. This is the only true custom knife I own. The guard is thin, so my hand fits right underneath it, and the bird's beak, or pommel spur, comes up right at the bottom of my hand. It's not too wide here, pretty thin and wide. Thin and wide. If you're looking at a 1-to-2 relationship there, this being 1, this being the 2, that's giving you a lot of control so that the blade is never going to twist in your hand. Even when you're in slick conditions, you'll be able to index it very well and hold on. It is contoured laterally as well. Notice it gets thin up here at the top, widens out to fill your hand, thin down at the bottom, and then it flares out a little bit again. Bravo 1, show you the handle. It's really quite round. Very round, in fact. And it's polished. Polished micarta. And it's got very thick stock of steel here. That's also very nicely polished in extremely cold and cold weather. Because it is so well polished and so round, it twists really easily in the hand. This was advertised as a hard-use knife. I can't use that hard if it's going to twist on me. And in any sort of greasy situation, or a wet situation, or a situation where my hands are very cold and I'm starting to lose dexterity, I do not want a handle that's going to twist on me where my indexing is already getting poor, but I still need to use it. The handle on this is decently long, so it does fit my hand very well in terms of the size. It does have that, flaring out laterally as well, so it fills the hand quite well. Thumb ramps a pain, that's another issue. Scrapyard Knife Company, ScrapMax 460. It's got the 4-inch blade. Res C handle. Notice there's a little bit of contouring going on there. Like the LMF2, the Gerber, does have a bit of a groove here in the center so that it fits nicely in your hand up in the inner pads. You'll notice that it does have this flare out in the pommel. A lot of people have modified theirs. If you have larger hands, that can become uncomfortable. The HRLM Swamp Rat. This handle, much better width to height ratio. You can see along the length of it. No way it's twisting in my hand. These grooves are really good for keeping it in your hand, even if you're wearing gloves. It's not going to twist. You don't have to hold it that tight either to keep that from happening. It's a very flat handle, but not so flat. It does widen out, and it is nice and chamfered around these edges, very round. This is a very comfortable handle. This is the same handle as is on the RMD, the Ratman Do. A lot of people love that handle because it really does seem to melt into your hand. A lot of reasons for that. This is not a straight spined knife. Look at that. There's a little bit of a thumb ramp here. Then it swoops down, up, and back down into the dropped heel. A little bit of a pommel spur up. This shape here is very common on a lot of knives, but this is a lot less common. And it fits perfectly into this groove for my medium-sized hand.